Let's make some butterbeer cookies. If you're looking to make a sweet treat this holiday season, I would absolutely recommend making these butterbeer cookies. They were so good. They did take a lot longer than I expected to make them, so make sure that you have plenty of time set aside to make these, but they are absolutely worth it. You're going to start by preheating the oven to 350 degrees. In a medium bowl, whisk together flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt, and then kind of set that aside. In a mixer, we then creamed the butter, brown sugar, and granulated white sugar on a high speed until it was light and fluffy. Our mixer kind of has a hard time getting to the bottom of the bowl, so this took a little bit longer. The recipe says it should take about 2 to 3 minutes, but we ended up having to kind of stop and scrape a couple of times. So just kind of use your judgment on when it looks light and fluffy. So far, I always find that I tend to have to mix things for longer than recipes always say to get the desired consistency. Let me know in the comments below if that's been your experience as well. From there, add in 2 egg yolks, vanilla extract, butter extract, which I had never heard of before and purchased for the first time. Butterscotch chips that have been melted and then slightly cooled. Mix that on a medium speed until you get a pale color, and again, it's nice and fluffy. Add in your dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, and then mix that on a low speed until just combined. So make sure you don't overmix that. Fold in the butterscotch chips into your dough. Scoop the dough into balls, about 2 tablespoons in size. The recipe says you'll make about 12 cookies, and so the balls end up definitely being a lot larger than you might expect. Put the cookie dough balls into a parchment paper lined baking sheet. Make sure you leave enough space in between them so that they don't run together, and then cook for 10 to 11 minutes. This next step was kind of fun. Once the cookies have been baked and they're still kind of warm and gooey, take a large glass, put them around each cookie and kind of swirl them, and it helps to make them a perfect circular shape. The cookies are going to come out of the oven pretty gooey still, but they'll continue to cook on that baking sheet for a little bit longer until you put them on the cooling rack. Now for the Butterbeer Caramel that's supposed to go on top, we did that part next. You're supposed to add butterscotch beer, or the recipe said you can use cream soda, to a pot and let it simmer over medium-low heat until it's thick and deep in color, about 15 to 17 minutes. So we tried that. It never really got thick, but it did get a little bit darker in color. So we actually tried to make this caramel twice. The first time, we turned down the heat. I made the mistake of adding the butter, cream, and salt all at the same time. And then you're supposed to let the caramel simmer over low heat for a minute. And it's supposed to turn into caramel. Well, it never did. So I did try to make a slurry, maybe try to thicken it up, and it just got weird. It did not work. So we decided to start over, tried it again, really let that cream soda simmer on low heat for a good while. It never really got thick, but this time we added the butter, let that fully incorporate like the recipe says. Then we added in the cream and salt, did the next step, let the caramel simmer over a low heat, but it just never turned to caramel. So if you try this recipe, I can't guarantee that you're gonna get caramel. We ended up at the end just drizzling caramel that we had in our fridge over the cookies, which still turned out to be really delicious. But if you have any tips for how to make cream soda turn into caramel, what we may have done wrong. We're guessing that maybe the butterscotch beer is like a much thicker, heavier liquid than cream soda, and that maybe cream soda wouldn't work, but that's what we already had, so that's what I used. But if you have any ideas, please let me know, because I would like to try it again and see if I can figure out how to turn it to caramel. But the butterscotch buttercream did turn out, and how we made that was by adding softened unsalted butter and salt to a medium bowl, and then whipping that on high speed until it was pale in color and fluffy, around 5 to 10 minutes. If you watched my buttercream video, we go into greater detail on how to make a really delicious buttercream frosting. I highly recommend watching that video. And then again, you're going to add in some melted and slightly cooled butterscotch chips, sift in powdered sugar, mix it until combined, add in more butter extract and vanilla extract, and then mix it until it's nice and light and fluffy, about 1 more minute. And this butterscotch buttercream was was so good. The little butterscotch chips, when they were whipping, because it was kind of a warmish liquid, the buttercream ended up having like this little chunkiness to it. It was so sweet and so yummy. I was really, really happy with how this came out. And then of course, make sure that your cookies are fully cooled before you try to frost them. Patience is so important with baking. I have learned that over the last few months. If they're nice and cool, it's really easy. However, I've been getting really cocky with my piping skills. So I was like, why don't I just pipe this buttercream onto these cookies? And I was really excited it was going to be really beautiful, but it ended up being really thick and it wouldn't come through the tip. We had a lot of fun kind of trying to do that and then gave up on that, put it in a bowl, and then I just used a knife to spread it onto the cookies, which probably was way easier than piping it in the first place, and I was just doing too much. Like I said, we added on some sprinkles and some caramel and gave them a try. They were so freaking good, you guys. I am curious how they would taste with the Butterbeer Caramel, but even just with regular caramel, they were really yummy. Again, I highly recommend making these for your holiday season. Any parties you might have, for your neighbors, family and friends, they will be super happy. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.